from inside the house or if they were more police shots.
It is coming up on 7 o'clock, and we want you to know we are going to continue to stay with this through the 7 o'clock hour. As you can imagine, a number of you watching right now live in the area of homes that have been evacuated. A lot of people have friends and relatives in that area. We've got an entire elementary school that has children locked inside. There's information we want to make sure we can give to you as soon as we get it. So for that reason, we're going to stay with this. Police seem to be getting closer and closer to moving in on the situation. Things could change at any time. So we'll continue with this until it comes to an ending, and hopefully, we've been saying that will be soon.
Well, the traffic situation, one we want to keep you updated on as well, and of course we know that you want to know how this is resolved, as we do here, and we hope that that will happen very soon. Liz Roca joins us again with some new information. Liz?
Oh, Dan, we've just learned exactly what this warrant is for. The warrant, the $10,000
spots you'll want to avoid.
Plus, super spy Austin Powers unleashes a comic controversy of shag mammoth proportions. Good evening, I'm Ron Corning.
And I'm Carrie Kazarba. Q13 Reports at 10 starts now.
This is Q13 Reports at 10.
Our intent is to get him to quit shooting at us. That's number one.
A terrible car wreck, an unspeakable trail of terror.
She had been assaulted with what appears to have been some type of possibly gardening implement.
A neighborhood under siege. A battlefield on Interstate 5 overflows into an unsuspecting neighborhood as one man's rage brings the holiday weekend to a standstill. Good evening. A day that started with deadly gunfire has ended that way tonight.
Right now, police are just beginning to piece together the violence that exploded in Shoreline today. We have live team coverage of the standoff. Q13's Lisa Myers is live at Harborview. Loria Oki is on Interstate 5.
But we begin with Q13's Julie Lee live in Shoreline, where this tragedy began unfolding about 7 hours ago. Julie, what can you tell us?
Well, Carrie and Ron, the command center is just breaking down now. Their job done. Now, investigators are still at the crime scene, tying up loose ends. Many neighbors will be kept out of their homes this evening. This all started at 1:30 on I-5 in Shoreline. The suspect was shot at 5:30 p.m., but it took police several more hours to verify he was not a danger anymore.
The standoff ended with one shot from a sniper's rifle, killing a 22-year-old male who had been firing for hours at police and everything else.
When I give the order to make that officer to take that shot, that's a shot that is supposed to take that person's life. And in my opinion, this was the right thing to do.
It started with a car accident on I-5 when the suspect's vehicle struck a motorcycle.
The suspect then exited the vehicle after it slid to a stop and ran off into the bushes.
Police say the man then assaulted two women with a garden tool, killing one and critically injuring another. Then he barricaded himself in a home with firearms inside. A bullet grazed a female officer. She's in serious condition. Some neighbors were evacuated and others were told to stay inside.
The only thing I heard when I was looking out my window were gunshots.
Eileen Gardner lives just a couple blocks away from the crime scene.
The last time I was out, the sheriff said, "Get in, we're moving in. We want you in the house."
State Patrol shut down both lanes of I-5 near Northeast 195th.
Police are still advising us to keep the school closed.
Nearby North City Elementary, with approximately 400 students inside, was locked down for more than 6 hours, frustrating parents.
Yeah, you do worry that there's going to be a stray shot somewhere.
The same suspect is being investigated by police in Brier for a double homicide there.
We're looking at the possibilities of these incidents being connected, but
Brier police tell us this evening a woman and a 2-year-old boy were killed there. We have learned it was the suspect's mother and nephew. And tonight, investigators are trying to figure out why all of this happened. Let's check in now with Q13's Lisa Myers, who's live at Harborview Medical Center. Lisa, what's going on there?
Well, Julie, there were 4 people who were brought by ambulance to Harborview Medical Center, but tonight there are only 3 survivors of the violence in Shoreline. As you said, 1 woman in critical condition, another woman, and a man in serious condition. Anthony Venegas was the first to be injured. The 64-year-old Everett man lost his left leg below the knee. Doctors at Harborview Medical Center couldn't reattach the leg. Shoreline police say the man who hit Venegas also attacked 2 women in their 60s with a garden tool.
They both suffered very severe injuries. One of them died subsequently in the emergency room here. The other one is serious, or critical rather, and with a fractured neck and head injury.
The suspect is also being blamed for a Shoreline police officer's injuries. She suffered a skull fracture from hitting her windshield and cuts on her face and head from the shattered glass. 3 people are in the intensive care unit of Harborview Medical Center. Ron, Carrie.
All right, Lisa Myers reporting live from Harborview tonight. Thank you.
And tonight, the owner of the house where the gunman was hiding says she feels very lucky.
We spoke to her from work today on the phone as the standoff reached its climax.
My husband immediately went to the policeman down at the end of the street, told him everything that was in the house, everything that was available that he might find so that they could be prepared.
Westfall says they kept a hunting rifle in the bedroom, and she was worried the gunman would find it.
The standoff left Interstate 5 looking like a parking lot for much of the day, as folks trying to get the early start on the holiday weekend ended frozen in their tracks. Q13's Lori Aoki is live on I-5 with that part of the story. Lori.
Carrie and Ron, as you may be able to hear and as you'll see, traffic on Interstate 5 is now flowing smoothly in both directions. The roadway reopened at around 8:30 this evening, but for 6 long hours prior to that, Interstate 5 was the freeway to avoid. An empty freeway? Not what you'd expect at the start of the summer holiday travel season. The closure stretched from Northeast 205th to Northeast 175th on Interstate 5 in both directions. Anxious travelers and commuters had to find other routes around it.
We're avoiding I-5.
Once they got off the freeway, drivers had more frustrations to deal with.
It was pretty tough. I got off just last exit down here, and I don't know what it's going to be like up here, but it's going to be bad, I think.
It was even worse than that. Absolute gridlock on surface streets for blocks. Some drivers progressed at a snail's pace, moving about a quarter of a mile in 2 hours. Not a way to start the long holiday weekend. We are just south of where northbound traffic on Interstate 5 was diverted this afternoon, and
police will be in this neighborhood all night long. People who live in this Shoreline neighborhood might feel as if they've been through a war. They did witness a battle, an assault from one man who had an awful lot of bullets, a man who fired those bullets all afternoon long. It started with an accident on I-5. The driver of this black car suddenly swerved across traffic and into a motorcycle.
His car apparently broke apart. The gas tank actually caught on fire, and there was initially even a fire on the side of the road.
While the motorcyclist lay bleeding, the driver ran from the freeway and into a neighborhood where he began traumatizing the people living there.
I was aroused by my roommate who said that there was a stranger in our house, and he looked pretty crazy, and I came out.
The suspect went house to house, apparently looking for guns. Twice he assaulted women with gardening tools, bludgeoning them, killing one woman in her 60s. While a second woman lay critically injured, the suspect kept running. By this time, police were running after him.
Yes, he did fire at myself and other officers that were at that location.
The suspect broke into a home with several guns inside. Now fully armed, he continued firing.
As of a couple of minutes ago, officers were still taking gunfire from the suspect.
Any word from the suspect? Is he saying anything?
As far as I know, we have not had any communication with him whatsoever.
By this time, SWAT teams from King County and Seattle were moving into place. One officer said the suspect was firing at anything that moved. For hours, the standoff continued until Sheriff Dave Reichert gave the command for a sniper to shoot.
The King County Sheriff's deputy, who is a part of our sniper team, fired one shot, struck the suspect. The suspect's gun fell outside the house and onto the ground. The suspect fell back into the house.
At first, deputies didn't know the suspect was dead, so they fired tear gas into the house and sent in a robot. Finally, more than 6 hours after it started, it was over. King County Police do not yet know how many bullets were fired by the suspect, but to give you an idea of how fast and furiously the bullets were flying, one police car alone has 15 bullet holes. Reporting live in Shoreline, Karen O'Leary, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Well, the whole neighborhood was held hostage by the standoff. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Essex Porter has been in the thick of it with the neighbors all evening long. Essex?
This is a neighborhood that is far from healed tonight. There are still barricades up portions of this neighborhood you still cannot enter because police are still conducting their investigation. Shock, sadness, relief, all emotions in this neighborhood tonight. Neighbors knew something was terribly wrong.
I saw a young man come up over the bank. He walked down, and I watched him turn into that first house. I then ran down to see what was going on.
Soon, police filled this Shoreline neighborhood and exchanged gunfire with the suspect. And gathering neighbors learned that one of their own had been killed.
Next thing everyone said, there's some lady over here, she's been shot or something. So I came up here and saw her. She didn't look good.
And people wondered why this happened to such a nice place, to their place.
I thought this was a safe community, and I really think we need to do something about violence. An innocent woman got hurt.
For those who couldn't get home for 6 hours while police did their jobs, it was an ordeal as well.
That I'm tired, I've got a headache, I'm glad he's been taken care of, and that our neighborhood can get back to normal.
One of the symbols that this neighborhood is not back to normal yet is our live picture of a mail truck trapped in this melee this afternoon. The mail carrier waited all day to try to get it out. Police would not let him do so. And now that mail truck will spend the night here. Some of the mail that just will not go through tonight in this neighborhood. Folks here will gather probably on their front steps tomorrow to talk this over to begin the healing process for this neighborhood. Reporting live in Shoreline, Essex, Porter Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Essex. The horror only started on that I-5 freeway and the neighborhood. It got worse with a discovery miles away in Brier. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Tricia Manning-Smith is there live with that part of the story.
Officers will be at the Brier scene much of the evening, yet investigating the murders of a woman and a child. Both of them are related to that suspect killed in Shoreline today, but here in Brier is where this whole chain of events is believed to have begun.
We believe that the deaths of the woman and the small boy occurred here first today. Exactly what time, we do not know.
The woman and boy are the Shoreline suspect's mother and nephew. The suspect was seen at the Brier home earlier today.
He left this residence and at some point in time got in a car accident on Interstate 5, and you already know the rest of it.
The chief says the car belonged to the man's mother.
He lives here, and I don't know that he killed anybody. All I know is that he did live here and that he left here with a car.
Police say the woman was found dead by her husband in the Brier home this afternoon. She was in the upstairs hall, and the child, her grandson, was in a bedroom. Police are not saying how the victims were killed.
It was really scary. I mean, it's in our neighborhood.
We had 2 children home from middle school, and called us and let us know that there was a murder around the corner. Just scary having the kids home and not knowing what was going on, and still not knowing what's going on.
Police say the element lacking right now is motive. They don't know why anyone would want to kill that 42-year-old woman and the 15-month-old baby. Reporting live in Brier, Tricia Manning-Smith, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Tricia, thank you. So we've gone from Shoreline north to Brier. Now, thousands of people were literally trapped for hours as, incredibly, Interstate 5 was shut down in both directions at the start of the Memorial Day weekend rush. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Kevin McCarty is live with one of the worst traffic jams in recent memory. Kevin?
Steve, it was a traffic jam that has gone on for close to 8 hours and goes on still. If you take a look at the southbound lanes of Interstate 5, you can see the flashing yellow lights. Those are diverting cars over to the only 2 lanes that are now open on southbound Interstate 5. There's not a lot of traffic right now, but it's moving a lot better than it was a few hours ago when literally nothing was moving in either direction for hours on end. All drivers could do was sit and wait. It was the worst possible traffic tie-up at the worst possible time. With the freeways already filling up with Memorial Day travelers, Interstate 5 is shut down in both southbound and northbound lanes as police both try to apprehend a suspect and investigate a crime spree.
It's longer than we expected.
Yeah.
How long y'all been trying to get through?
A long time.
About 5 o'clock. Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you guys start out from?
Olympia.
Lacey? Olympia.
Yeah.
Where are you heading?
Mount Vernon.
For the weekend?
Yeah. If we ever get there.
I don't think I'm going to make it.
Department of Transportation cameras show Interstate 5 looking like a parking lot. For hours, cars simply sat still. while in other spots between the closures, the freeway was wide open with no cars in sight. Some drivers tried to take it in stride.
We're just hanging out in the car in the street.
Yeah, it's been a lovely
Friday evening.
the day in traffic. What's that?
How long have you been on the road?
Well, I'm only going a short distance, but I've been on for about an hour.
All we can do is wait. Patience is a good virtue. That's what I tell my boys.
But others were angry with a traffic backup that seemed to go on and on and on.
I don't know. Wish they could have taken care of it a little sooner.
Well, it's a mess. We were making really good time until this.
And how much longer will this go on? Well, investigators from the Washington State Patrol say they will not clear the scene until they have thoroughly investigated the crime scene in those southbound lanes of Interstate 5. Until then, holiday travelers will simply have to be patient. Reporting live on Interstate 5 in Montlake Terrace, Kevin McCarty, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
And who do police blame for all this killing and mayhem? That part of the story stretches beyond Shoreline and Brier to South Seattle, where we find clues to the suspect and his relationship to the victims. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Neil Karlinski is live in News Control to tell us what he has uncovered. Neil?
Susan, we spent several hours tonight speaking with people who know the suspect and some of the victims, too. They describe the suspect as a man who was going to community college and working at the same time. A man no one expected could ever be capable of so much violence. It is the raw emotion of a family which has lost 3 of its own. Family friends say not only did the suspect once live here in the South Seattle home, but the 2 murder victims in Brier were also relatives. Friends say the suspect killed his own mother and nephew.
I just seen her yesterday, him and her both.
How did they look?
Fine. Smiling, laughing, she always joking.
The suspect's mother had apparently beaten 2 bouts with cancer and was reportedly close with her son.
Seemed like a big happy family. You know, it's like he was his mother's pride and joy.
Which is why those who know the gunman are having so much trouble understanding what could have gone wrong. What could have driven a 22-year-old people here remember as friendly to allegedly kill his mother and nephew, then begin attacking still more people.
I just don't know what to say. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what could have made this boy snap like that. I just don't know what. I'm just devastated behind the whole thing.
Relatives of all 3 of these people understandably didn't want to speak with us tonight. We'll continue to gather more information about the suspect and bring it to you as soon as we learn it. For now, reporting live in News Control, Neil Karlinski, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
Todd, thanks. The innocent victims of all the shooting are at Harborview Medical Center tonight. There, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News reporter Todd Pottinger standing by live. Todd.
Well, Steve, we'll begin our report tonight with a comment from a woman whose family knew the victim, one of the victims, very well. The victim, a woman in her 60s who died as a result of her injuries.
I've known one of the women for 18 years. All my life, she was my grandmother's best friend. And that was pretty upsetting. I don't really have much to say. I don't know.
The lady who died?
Yeah, Erma Spence. She was a very wonderful woman. I would like to say that. She was the kindest woman you will ever meet.
Friends, relatives, and co-workers of the victims gathered at Harborview Hospital throughout the evening. Police officers from a number of jurisdictions came too, here to show their support for Shoreline police officer 45-year-old Diana Russell, who was nearly killed when one of the suspect's bullets hit her patrol car.
True to herself, she's more concerned about the other officers who were at the scene and the way that they're feeling and the way that they're coping under this stressful situation.
Harborview's Trauma Center received 4 victims in all here. A woman in her 60s died soon after her arrival just before 3 p.m. Her friend, another woman in her 60s, remains in critical condition with a broken neck. Motorcyclist Anthony Venegas, a 64-year-old man from Everett involved in the original wreck on I-5, had to have his left leg amputated below the knee. And finally, Officer Diana Russell, with facial lacerations and a skull fracture, who, despite her injuries, co-workers say is maintaining good spirits.
She's going to be fine. It's going to take a little bit to grow some hair back, but she's full of laughter and full of cheer right now.
Obviously, Officer Russell's co-workers trying to put the best face on this horrible tragedy. The latest information we have, 2 in serious condition, 1 in critical condition. The one in critical condition is a woman in her 60s who has a broken neck. She is the most seriously injured of those here at the hospital. Live at Harborview Hospital, Todd Pottinger, Cairo 7 Eyewitness News.
All right. right, Todd, thank you. An elementary school packed with students was locked down soon after those gunshots were fired. More than 400 kids were held inside, protected from the possibility of stray shots. After 6 hours of waiting, worried parents finally got the news that they had been waiting for.
All right, we can release the students at this time.
Parents rushed in to find their children. They were a little tired, but otherwise okay, with great big smiles. The students did homework, they watched videos, they played games to pass the time. They were also fed. Officials at North City Elementary say they didn't go into great detail about why they were held. The children were held in class. They'll leave that up to the parents.
Well, more details now on the story that took 8 hours to tell you today on live television. 4 people are dead, including the suspect. Police are working multiple crime scenes tonight, several in Shoreline and north in Brier. Our live coverage in depth picks up tomorrow morning on Cairo 7 Eyewitness News, beginning at 7 a.m.
Thanks for making CBS America's most watched network.
From New York, we're stockpiling hookers for Y2K. It's The Late Show with David Letterman.
There's tear gas on the floor.
With David Letterman.
There's tear gas on the floor. Broken furniture, broken pictures inside, all a result of yesterday's standoff.
The big holes in the front of the house in the glass are where the tear gas was shot into the house.
Below the big holes, bullet holes, where investigators say the gunman fired out at police officers. Several were pinned down, one for almost an hour.
A dozen officers that were lucky to be alive today. Flat out lucky to be alive because they were taking rounds all around them.
This police cruiser is riddled with 15 bullet holes. Anna Russell's Jeep was hit 6 times. She's the Shoreline officer recovering from a fractured skull and injuries from flying glass. Witnesses say they heard 36 shots fired by the gunman. Police say that's a conservative estimate. An off-duty firefighter was one of the first people on the scene to help.
I got down a couple of times, but you don't really think about what's going on. You're more worried about the patients that are injured, and you really don't think about your own safety.
The SWAT team tried talking the gunman out. Police say he answered with more gunfire. A sheriff's department sharpshooter fired back, 1 shot, and the gunman was dead. Now investigators must piece together what happened, from the accident on I-5 to the killing of an elderly woman bludgeoned in her own garden, to the last stand made in this house. Gas masks are needed to gather evidence. The smell of tear gas still overpowering. In fact, it may be several days before the family that lives here can move back in.
I don't know what's broken, what's gone, so.
That's Austin Westfall. He is the son of the people who live here. You can see the Westfalls are right behind me right now, a live look. They're looking inside their house. In fact, they were in there just moments ago and they were saying it's terrible. Their eyes were burning, their face was burning, their skin is burning. They don't know when they will be able to get back inside their house. Now, one other point was made by the man who lives here. He says much has been made of the weapons found inside the house. He says too much has been made of that. He said it was not an arsenal. In fact, he had 7 guns, 2 were not working, so 5 were working, and he said most of those were collector guns. They were not guns that he would ever expect somebody would come into his house, break into his house, and use to shoot at police officers, which is what police are saying right now. He says, but most of those were collector's guns and not just guns laying around his house. But again, it may still be several days before the Westfall family can get back inside because of the tear gas burning their eyes and burning their face. Reporting live in Shoreline, Joe Furia, Como 4 News.
Thank you, Joe. And this morning, as neighbors in Shoreline began returning to their homes, they were left with many unanswered questions. A young family was escorted by police back to their home one day after the quiet of their neighborhood was shattered. With one neighbor dead and another in serious condition, the ordeal has left many wondering just how safe are their familiar surroundings.
You always see things on news, but it's never home, and next thing you walk out and it's right in your backyard. It was very, very scary, very traumatic for everybody.
Many of the homeowners say until now they were only familiar with their neighbors, but in the last 24 hours they've become much closer.
We're learning a little more tonight about the suspect, 22-year-old Lonnie Davis. Police say he killed his mother in their home in Brier with a 3-inch paring knife. He's also accused of killing his 15-month-old nephew, who his mom was babysitting. Friends can't even begin to understand why. They say Lonnie Davis was very close to his mom and was always helping her with chores.
out there cutting the yard, emptying the garbage like most sons do, and speaking to anybody that just happened to come by. He was a real nice guy.
Before moving to Brier, Davis lived here in South Seattle with his sister, the mother of the deceased infant. Court records show Davis was arrested before 4 times for assault, stealing a car, driving without a license, and resisting arrest. But friends say Davis had cleaned up his act. Before his death, he was working and attending community college.
We've just learned about a terrible